the Statue of Liberty. She is one of the most well-known people in the world, an icon, and a national treasure. Millions of people who value her principles go around the globe every year to witness her magnificence and history firsthand. She is the inspiration, hope, and emblem of freedom, the Statue of Liberty. Edouard de Laboulaye, a Frenchman, came up with the notion of giving the people of the United States a significant gift from the people of France in 1865. Devoted to the United States, Laboulaye wanted to honor both the deep ties between France and America and the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The recent abolition of slavery in the United States, which advanced the country's principles of liberty and freedom, also touched him. Sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi was there when Laboulaye made his announcement. Congruent with Laboulaye's mission, Bartholdi started designing the enormous framework that would eventually be recognized as liberty, enlightening the world. A broken shackle and chains representing the end of slavery are placed at the foot of the statue by Bartholdi, signifying the end of slavery. Bartholdi's design was rich in symbolism, with her crown representing light and its spikes evoking sun rays extending out to the world. Raising money and fostering community have always been important aspects of Lady Liberty's past. Initially, there were attempts to finance this extraordinary project. The American people would finance and construct the pedestal, while France would create the statue and assemble it in the country. In France, a lottery, several kinds of entertainment, and public fees were employed to raise money. In order to raise money for the pedestal, charity plays, art shows, auctions, and prize fights were conducted in the United States. In 1883, poet Emma Lazarus penned her well-known sonnet The New Colossus for a literary and artistic auction. The pedestal's funding proceeded slowly in spite of these attempts. In 1885, Joseph Pulitzer ran an advertisement in his newspaper The New York World to encourage public action. In 1885, Joseph Pulitzer ran an advertisement in his newspaper, The New York World, asking readers to contribute to the cause in an effort to spur public action. Pulitzer published each donor's name in the newspaper in return. The public stepped up to the plate, contributing over $100,000 and helping to raise the remaining monies required to build the pedestal for the statue. 120,000 people did so. In the meantime, Bartholdi needed an engineer's help in France to deal with the structural problems that came with creating a sculpture made of such enormous amounts of copper. Just before building his renowned tower, Alexander Gustave Eiffel was commissioned to construct the huge iron pylon and secondary skeleton framework that enable the statue's copper skin to move freely while remaining upright. Standing majestically over Paris's roofs, the enormous sculpture anticipated her journey across the ocean. In the United States, architect Richard Morris Hunt was chosen to create the granite pedestal for the statue the same year, and work on the project began. To be transported across the Atlantic on the ship Isère, the statue was disassembled into 350 parts and placed within 214 containers. On June 17, 1885, the ship arrived in New York Harbor. The statue was broken up and left on what was known as Bedloe's Island while its pedestal was being built. After the pedestal was finished in April 1886, President Grover Cleveland presided over the Statue of Liberty's dedication on October 28, 1886, in front of thousands of onlookers. Change has been a constant in the tale of the Statue of Liberty and her island. For many years, the island provided a significant amount of food for the Lenape Indians and later, Dutch colonists. The island was declared a military station by the U.S. Army in 1807, and an 11-point fort was built to guard New York Harbor. Subsequently renamed Fort Wood, the building currently acts as the foundation for the pedestal of the statue. Over time, the statue's significance and meaning have also changed. The link with welcome, huddled masses is, maybe, the most noteworthy. A plaque with the words "The New Colossus" was affixed to the pedestal in 1903. As a result, immigrants sailing past Lady Liberty on their journey to America began to see her as an inspiration. The torch on the statue, originally designed by Bartholdi in 1874, was supposed to be constructed of solid copper sheet that was gilded so that it would glow brightly throughout the day. However, the torch experienced a lot of changes in its first 50 years. 2 rows of portholes had been carved out of the copper at the base of the torch to allow light to enter the statue when it was consecrated in 1886. 6 years later, an octagonal pyramidal skylight with red, white, and yellow glass was erected on top of the flame, replacing the upper row of portholes with an 18-inch glass belt. 1916 saw more alterations when roughly 250 locations of copper were removed and replaced with cathedral glass that was amber in color. A new lighting system was built in 1931, requiring the installation of 2 projectors through 16-inch diameter holes drilled into the balcony floor surrounding the flame. Bartoldi's design was hardly recognizable at this point. Experts concluded that reinstating the original torch was not possible during the 1980s restoration of the statue for the Foundation's centennial celebration. Bartoldi's solid copper flame was drastically changed during a century of work, primarily to a glass flame. The original torch above the handle was irreparably damaged by leaks caused by precipitation and weather-related corrosion. On July 4, 1984, it was taken down and replaced with a copy that was designed by Bartoldi. The original torch is currently on exhibit in the Statue of Liberty Museum's Inspiration Gallery. French and American engineers thoroughly inspected the statue in preparation for its centennial in 1986. 149, it was declared in 1982 that the statue required extensive restoration. 150, the engineers had to contend with significant structural alterations from earlier decades as well as a dearth of comprehensive designs and documentation. 151, a thorough examination had shown that the right arm was not correctly fastened to the main structure. There was a serious risk of structural breakdown, and it was swaying more and more when heavy gusts blew. Furthermore, when the statue moved in the exhibit, one of the rays had a hole in its right arm and the head had been positioned 2 feet, 0.61 meters, off-center. 2% or more of the external plates required to be replaced due to the severe corrosion that affected the armature construction. 150, much of the corrosion had been covered up by years' worth of paint, even though issues with the armature had been identified as early as 1936, when cast iron replacements for parts of the bars had been placed. In order to gather the money required to finish the project, President Ronald Reagan announced in May 1982 the creation of the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island Centennial Commission, which will be chaired by Lee Iacocca of the Chrysler Corporation. 153, 154, 155. The organization raised about $350 million in donations for the renovations of Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty through its fundraising arm, the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island Foundation, Inc. 156, one of the first objects to benefit from a cause marketing campaign, was the Statue of Liberty. A 1983 campaign promised that the firm would donate 1 penny to the statue's restoration for every transaction completed with an American Express card. $1.7 million in donations were made to the restoration project as a result of the campaign. 157. President Ronald Reagan announced the establishment of the STA. The statue was off-limits to the public in 1984 while repairs were being done. The statue was hidden from view when workers built the biggest freestanding scaffold in history. 40. 2 coatings of coal tar, initially used to seal leaks and prevent corrosion, were left behind after layers of paint that had been put to the interior of the copper skin over decades were removed with liquid nitrogen. Baking soda powder blasting eliminated the tar without causing more harm to the copper. 158. The material based on asbestos that Bartoldi had applied to stop galvanic corrosion proved to be worthless, as checks revealed, and also complicated the job of the restorers. The moon suits that the workers inside the statue were required to wear were protective outfits with self-contained breathing circuits. An identical copy of Bartoldi's original torch was installed in its place after it was discovered that the 1916 modifications had caused it to leak water. 162. The National Park Service insisted on having the arm and shoulder fixed, but replacement was considered. 163. In 1986, the original torch was taken down and replaced with the present one, which has a 24-karat gold covering over its flame. 43. During the day, the torch reflects the light of the sun, and at night, floodlights illuminate it. More fast facts include the torch sways 5 inches, 12.7 centimeters, in the wind, while the statue sways 3 inches, 7.62 centimeters. Climbing 354 steps, 22 stories, allows visitors to view the view from 25 windows in the crown. At the time, the statue was the highest building in the United States, standing at 151 feet, 1 inch, 46 meters, 2.5 millimeters. A Liberty's spine was created by engineer Gustave Eiffel, who would go on to develop the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The thin copper skin of the statue is supported by a metal structure inside the statue by 4 enormous iron columns. Using his mother as a model, Frederick Auguste Bartholdi understood he intended to create a massive copper goddess. 300 coin-thin copper sheets cover the statue. They were riveted together after being pounded into various forms. The lengths of the arm and finger are 46 feet, 14 meters, and 2.4 meters, respectively, while the nose is almost 5 feet, 1.5 meters. The 7 oceans of Earth are symbolized by the 7 rays in the crown. Basically, the Statue of Liberty, a representation of freedom around the world, is situated on Upper New York Bay. Originally intended to commemorate the abolition of slavery after the American Civil War, it also served as a symbol of the camaraderie and shared yearning for liberty between the peoples of France and the United States. This was all for now about the Great Statue of Liberty. Hope you like the information. We will come back with more interesting topics for you. Do like, share, and subscribe our content. Thanks for watching our video.